Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, November 8th, 2014. This is episode 1133. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Citrix Go2Assist. Go2Assist offers a secure, cloud-based solution for IT and customer support professionals to provide live and unattended remote support to their employees and customers working from any computer or mobile device. For a 30-day free trial, visit gotoassist.com. And by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster, easier, and cheaper. Post your job to 50-plus job boards with one click. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TechGuy. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TechGuy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk tech. Computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater, and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number if you want to call in with a question, a comment, a suggestion. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I suppose, a public service announcement. The Home Depot fiasco gets worse, deepens. Home Depot, you may remember, lost, what was it, 14 million, 17 million? After your first few million, does it matter? Credit card and all that stuff. Now they're saying, oh, yeah, we also lost we also were hacked. We lost the email addresses. Lost is probably not the right word. Misplaced. 53 million. There you go. 53 million. So they stole. Okay, so let's get the numbers right. It's worth it. Home Depot said yesterday that the hackers who had stolen 56 million consumer credit card and debit card accounts also made off with 53 million customer email addresses. If they've got your credit card, the email address is kind of secondary. I guess the reason Home Depot is making a point of this is that you could be getting phishing scams from a company that looks something like Home Depot. Email in your inbox. You got to be aware of these, right? You're paying attention to this. It's so easy to make an email that looks official from your bank or your credit card company or Home Depot that just looks like it came from them. So easy to do that. And then having done that, asking for you to, for instance, log into a web page which looks exactly like Home Depot or your credit card or your bank, and then give them, in effect, their your login information. And you don't want to do that. So pay attention, especially if it comes from Home Depot, but it could come from anybody else too. Home Depot said the crooks. I'm reading from Brian Krebs' excellent blog on security. It's called KrebsOnSecurity.com. Home Depot said the crooks. We're not going to call them hackers anymore. Do you mind if I don't call them hackers? You'll understand. Because hackers can be good. The hackers, hack stuff and make neat new things out of it. And so let's call them attackers. Better than hackers, right? Attackers, crooks. I like crooks. Home Depot said the crooks initially broke in using credentials stolen from a third-party vendor. Sounds familiar. The company said thieves used the vendor's username and password to enter the perimeter. That's it. Just name and password, huh? Now they're in the perimeter of Home Depot's network. But then they attacked a vulnerability that was what they call a zero-day vulnerability. It had not been fixed in Microsoft Windows. They patched that later. Microsoft did. It's funny. The Target attack was the same thing. It was they got in pretending to be a heating and air conditioning company with remote access credentials. I guess these big companies, too much trouble to open the bills and pay them. So they give their biggest vendors just, log in, take what you need, and leave. Pay yourself. It's good. It's fine. We trust you. You're good. If you want a broom or anything as you on your way out, just take it with you. But that's okay. So these guys, so Target's still the biggest, right, with 70 million. I shouldn't laugh. You could see why there's great pressure now on companies to adopt this Apple Pay solution, because when you buy stuff with it, only your bank and Apple have your credit card number. Nobody else, and certainly not Home Depot or Target. This is why. ZDNet calls it breach fatigue. I'm sorry. Do you have any smelling salts? I have breach fatigue. So many break-ins that at some point we just go, yeah, business as usual. So you want to hear the breach fatigue list from this week? Researchers have uncovered a new and sophisticated form of malware which attacks iOS devices. But don't worry, it's only for China. You have to download the software, not from the official Apple Store, but from a Chinese app store, and then do something that I think people don't do much anymore: connect your iOS device to your computer via USB. They call it Wire Lurker. We got to have a good name. It's Wire Lurker. Wire Lurker. There is apparently a serious vulnerability in OS X Yosemite, the new version of Apple's operating system called Root Pipe. These names are great. Root Pipe. But somebody has to be sitting at your computer to do it, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about Root Pipe. If you've got an attacker, a bad guy sitting at your computer in your house, you've got bigger problems than Root Pipe. Senators in Nigeria, yes, Nigeria, that's the home of all those weird emails, have approved a cybercrime bill. They've been debating it for 7 years. 7 years, not weeks, years. It punishes attacking with a jail sentence of 7 years. I'm sorry. They've been debating it not for 7 years, for a decade. I apologize. Nigerian laws apparently do not adhere to most other countries where it's illegal. This has happened before, where a virus author can live in a country where it is not illegal. The Philippines, for instance. That's where Melissa, remember that from some years ago, was created. But they know who did it, but they could never prosecute him because it wasn't illegal in the Philippines. The Nigerian scam, according to a report by Ultrascan AGI, that's the one where you get the email from a Nigerian prince. Who falls for that? Somebody falls for it. $12.7 billion in losses last year. Billion. Somebody falls for that. You wouldn't. A Nigerian prince, he's on his deathbed, he wants to give you $27 million to do good. You wouldn't fall for that if you got that in an email, would you? Would you? Somebody did. $12.7 billion. So a new report confirms consumers are reaching the point of breach fatigue. The report from Ponymon, I don't know if I could trust a company called Ponymon. Not Pokemon, it's Pokemon with an N. Well, and the RSA, which is a well-respected company in the back pocket of the NSA, says customers are reaching the point of breach fatigue. Consumers really do little, this report says, to alter their behavior following breaches at their favorite stores. Well, we knew that. What else are you going to do? Oh, I'll never shop at Home Depot again. Or, oh, I'll only pay cash. No, you continue to. You know why? Because in the United States, you're not liable for the loss. The credit card companies are. According to the breach fatigue report by Ponymon, consumer antennae are up. There are 1,000 respondents participated. Half had been victim of a breach. Well, I guess it really half seems low. Have you ever had a credit card stolen or a number stolen? Have you ever received a call from your credit card company with fraudulent charges and they send you a new credit card? That's only half. Haven't we all had that happen? I've had that happen many times. A mere 14% out of the 1,000, though, reported they care enough about privacy to affect their shopping or banking behavior. Who cares? It's just another breach. It's breach fatigue. I'm going to bed. I have breach fatigue. I'm sorry. I'm not wide awake today. I have breach fatigue. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Let's talk tech right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I have breach fatigue. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, burning down the house. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. The website, I should mention that, is techguylabs.com, and there's no charge, there's no sign up. It's just an open website. You go there, and there are notes from the shows and links, and so if you hear something, you can just go there, and we even break it up into show, by day, as well as by hour in that show, as well as by question within that hour, so you can just go right to where you want. After the show, we put up the audio and the video so you can listen or watch, see the written comments, add your own, click the links, and it's all free. techguylabs.com, and that will also give you a link to our lovely chat room where many people lurk waiting to pounce on you. No, they're very nice, actually. And we keep it that way with our very accomplished, hardworking, dedicated, unpaid, frankly, chat mods. Hello, chat mods. Heather Hammond, the phone ranger, is here. She's the one who answers that phone when you call 8888 Ask Leo. Did you give me these coupons for Madame Tussauds in San Francisco on Fisherman's Wharf?
Usually if there's a mysterious gift on your desk, I am the one who brought it, but not this time.
Do you notice anything about this? $5 off. That's the first thing I noticed. The world-famous wax attraction at Fisherman's Wharf, Madame Tussauds Wax Gallery. There's a guy. He's taking a picture. That looks like, what's her name? Kim Winslet. Kate Winslet.
Oh.
I think that's Jerry Garcia, but it could really be anybody with a beard.
I think it's you.
Could be me with a beard. Don't know who the person with the blue lips is, but I'm thinking Lady Gaga. Wait, who's that? Guy in a black turtleneck, arms folded. That's Steve Jobs.
Whoa.
So now you can I guess this shows how big tech is. That we're right up there, the nerds are finally ruling the world, right up there with Jerry and Gaga and Kate.
Zuckerberg's next.
Zuckerberg did a Q&A, an FAQ this week for all the Facebook fans. And somebody asked him, hey, what did you think of that movie, The Social Network? And he said, I've blocked that out. He said it was so inaccurate. It was so frustrating to watch. He said, but I understand it's Hollywood. Wouldn't have made much of a movie sitting there for 3 hours watching me code, which is really mostly what it was. Watching a guy type is not that interesting. So he has a point. He has a point.
It had to show him collaborating and then stealing from people to give it a plot,
Yeah, and I think that one of the issues with that movie, if I were him, is the plot revolves around the fact that he tries to get a date and then can't get the date, so is mad at women and invents Facebook to get back. And the movie ends, of course, with him trying to friend the woman that he loved but never could get. And the movie ends with him sitting in the lawyer's offices where he's been deposed because somebody is mad at him and wants the money. And he keeps hitting refresh, seeing if she's friended him back. That would bother me since he had already met the woman he ended up marrying. They were very close this whole time. That whole thing was made up. Priscilla Chan, is that her name? She's his wife now. They were dating that whole time. They were close. They had already fallen in love. He was not jilted. He did not create Facebook because he hated women because he was jilted. So
there you go.
If I were him, I'd be a little.
Mark Zuckerberg, you've been absolved by Leo.
They have, yeah, I absolve you, Mark.
And I mean, to be fair to Hollywood, some director needs to tell some actor, answer the question, what's my motivation?
They have to tell a story.
And there you go. You have motivation.
However, the same guy who wrote that, Aaron Sorkin, is now writing the Steve Jobs movie. Speaking of Steve Jobs. And we're all a little worried about you can't play fast and loose with Steve because everybody knows the story, I think.
What's he going to do with your life? It's going to be women again.
I want to make an announcement. Jack Black has been selected to play me, so I'm very excited about that. I think that's excellent casting. Christian Bale, who was supposed to be Steve Jobs, or his name had been bandied about as the guy who would be the star of this, playing Steve Jobs in the movie, has decided not to do it. He says, I'm not the right man for this job, which is too bad because I thought he was. But they did, I think I talked about this last week, they did say that we've got Seth Rogen for the part of Steve Wozniak, the cuddly, lovable geek who actually invented all of these computers for Apple. Perfect.
Interesting.
Seth Rogen's perfect. So I sent an email to Steve Wozniak, not Jobs. He's not... Lately, not been really responding. But Woz, actually, if you want to email Woz, you email his wife, Janet, and she responds. She's great. I love Janet. So I emailed Janet. I said, what does Woz think of Seth Rogen? She said he loves it. He should. That's perfect casting. Because don't you think Seth Rogen's a cuddly teddy bear type?
Oh, yeah. He seems to be a genuinely wonderful human being.
Yeah. Well, just like Woz. That's who Woz is.
I thought you said Jack Black was going to play you.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Well, I hope.
Because you need somebody with those mad, eyebrow skills. There you go. Prowess.
No one will ever make a movie of the tech guy's life, I'm sad to say.
Oh, my God.
Heather, do you, at least they won't if I don't start answering some calls quick.
Right. We need the plot to thicken, don't we?
Let's thicken the plot with a fine caller right now.
Well, Ed in Valencia is having just that issue. Gosh darn it. Why can't I get Wi-Fi? I'm sick of stringing this 50-foot long cord through my house.
I hate it when that happens. Hi, Ed. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Got a Wi-Fi issue, though.
Uh-oh. Who doesn't? Really? Seriously, everybody, we all have Wi-Fi issues. Wi-Fi seems to be one of those things that it's a great idea when it works, but frequently doesn't. So what's going on with your Wi-Fi?
Well, I think I've narrowed it down. It's my wife's PC laptop, and she gets intermittent reception. There's other Wi-Fi or other laptops in the house that work fine. And
at the same distance in the same locale?
Yeah, pretty much. Even hers is closer.
I think one thing that is not often talked about, probably should be, is that radios vary in not just computers, but smartphones too. And some are better at it than others. Remember when Apple first started making metal laptops? They realized the first titanium MacBooks effectively sealed the Wi-Fi antenna, and they had terrible reception. So it could very well just be that laptop. Does it work sometimes?
It works hardwired, so I know that.
Yeah. Does it work on Wi-Fi ever?
It does, but it works and then it stops working. So
yeah.
I was thinking maybe it's the card I have to replace on the laptop.
I bet not. It's hard with Wi-Fi to diagnose the problem because so many things can cause this problem. When she's in the same room as the access point, does the same thing happen?
Yeah.
It drops out, even if she's right next to it. Like she's getting 5 bars. The signal's strong. One thing about Wi-Fi, we use Skype for a lot of our hosts on this show and the other shows I do. And we won't let them use Wi-Fi for that very reason. Because every once in a while it just drops out. That's fine on a website, but not so great on Skype. Hang on, we'll talk more when we get back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm not dead yet. I could play me. Yeah, so there's a couple of things he can do. He could use software to try and figure out if there's some issue. He could also, like a net stumbler kind of thing, or he could also, you're right, get an external USB Wi-Fi adapter. I guess we got to talk about the Amazon Echo. I don't know how the Echo is different, really, from this. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. How high is Mount Everest? I mean, it does kind of the same thing as the Amazon.
In a few months, it'll help you make your purchases much quicker.
Yeah.
Mount Everest is 29,029 feet tall.
Thank you.
Went to high school with that guy.
Mount Everest?
Scott.
Ah! Scott Wilkinson is coming up in just a second, our home theater guru. Before I do that, though, I want to wrap things up with Ed in Valencia. His wife's Wi-Fi drops out a lot. It does sound like it might be something to do with the computer since it's not behaving the same as any other computer, even right next to the Wi-Fi access point. So what you might do is you can buy fairly inexpensively USB Wi-Fi adapters, like $25, Ed.
Yeah, I tried that. I tried a monoprice one for like $10, but still the same problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that eliminates the card. Right, and that eliminates the case being a problem. It really eliminates the hardware. So now you got a mystery. Is it an older computer?
It's a ThinkPad, Lenovo T400.
And is it AC compatible or just N? And what about your routing? Your router, is it N or AC?
Yeah, I'm not even sure what that is. It's a Netgear router.
Yeah.
My two other laptops work fine, though.
Well, the other thing that I would recommend is you can go out and get Wi-Fi diagnostics software to run on it's a PC, so you want the Windows version. And I'll give you an address as soon as I find it here. You can run that, and you can see what congestion there is. Are you in an area where there's a lot of other Wi-Fi access points visible?
Yeah, there's a few in the neighborhood,
Yeah. So the one I like probably, well, there's a couple. There's Insider, INSSIDER. We'll put links to all of this in the show notes. That's from MetaGeek. Cirrus makes a really good free these are all free, by the way. Wi-Fi Inspector, XIRRUS. Between the two of those, you should get a pretty good sense of what your Wi-Fi looks like. And I would run it on her computer as well as another one.
Okay,
And
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and then I'll give you a diagnostic. It might be that there are some bands that are better than others. Sometimes, it's always a good idea to let if you've got a good router, Netgear's good, if you let the router choose the band. But maybe there's a lot of congestion on a particular band, and it'd be nice to maybe try a different one. These programs are great for this kind of stuff. So I would take a look at it. The Cirrus program is pretty amazing. They make hardware, Wi-Fi hardware, but they offer this program as a download for free, and it'll give you some good ideas. Since the USB has the same problem, I'm thinking there's, I don't know, that's weird. Maybe a software issue on your wife's. Oh, Insider's now $20. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. So many people were using it. It's a great tool. Well, use the Cirrus program, XIRRUS Wi-Fi Inspector. We'll put a link at thetechguylabs.com. Good luck. Yeah, this is one of those things. Oh, it's so hard to diagnose wireless, any RF, radio frequency stuff. It's kind of a black box, as any radio station engineer will tell you. Hey, here's our good buddy, Scott Wilkinson, the bump-de-bump. He put the bump-de-bump back in the chunk-to-chunk. He's got the best laugh ever, our home theater guru at avsforum.com. Also the host of the Home Theater Geek podcast on this network, twit.tv/HTG. Hello, Scotty.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good. What's up?
Had a great guest on Home Theater Geeks this week. Wilfred van Balen is the
inventor
CEO
of the Balen?
No.
Oh.
Different spelling.
Yeah.
No, he's the inventor of Oro 3D immersive audio. Now, I know you're not a big believer in immersive audio yet, but there are more than 2 different systems that are out there, and it's a big deal. SMPTE is working on standardization so that people who make movie soundtracks can deliver one package with immersive audio. And what immersive audio really means is audio extending into the 3rd dimension, overhead. And Dolby Atmos is the primary example that we've seen more of than anything else. But Oro 3D is there as well.
RO
And-
is AURO, just like you'd expect,
Correct.
because it's oral.
Oral. Yes, exactly.
Oral. And so, how does 3D immersive work?
Well, it operates under the principle that we, as human beings, as living beings in the world,
Have
in a
2
three-dimensional
ears.
world, we have 2 ears.
But
we can discern the direction from which sound is coming in 3 dimensions. Right? So in the real world, you're out walking around. You don't only hear things at ear level.
how do we do that with only 2 ears? Are we turning our heads slightly, or?
Well, there might be something of that, but it really has to do with something called interaural difference. That is the difference in time it takes a sound to reach one ear versus the other.
Oh, wow.
And that can be down in the microseconds.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
brain
your
is-
eyes. The difference between
Yes,
what the
yes.
left eye sees and the right eye sees can determine depth
Can give you-
perception.
Gives you 3D
Boy,
vision.
the human
Exactly.
brain is. I mean, this all happens in the brain, of course.
Exactly. And it's amazing what the brain can do. In fact, Wilfred on the show was talking about how the brain can hear differences of arrival time in the 4 or 5 microsecond range. So that's very, very discriminating. And we can also not only hear, as I said, in the ear plane, in the plane around our head, but above as well. I mean, when a plane flies overhead, you know that it's over there, and you can tell immediately sort of where it is, or a bird flying one way or something like that. So we live in a 3-dimensional world. We see in 3 dimensions, and we hear in 3 dimensions. And so recently, and over the last few years, there has been a push, a development towards what's called immersive audio, where there are speakers not only at your head level, but also above. Now, Dolby and Oro take a slightly different approach. Dolby puts the speakers around you as normal in a surround system, 5.1, 7.1, and then they add speakers on the ceiling. What Oro does, Wilfred cites his research that claims that you can't really discern vertical discernment is less sensitive than horizontal. So you're much more sensitive to horizontal pan, or when the sound is panned horizontally, you can hear it pretty easily and smoothly. But if you pan a sound vertically, you start at ear level and go up. If you have to go too far before you reach the next speaker, the illusion is lost. And so he believes that you need to put a second layer of speakers at about 30 degrees above horizontal. And that really puts them up higher on the wall rather than on the ceiling. And then in a large room, if you need that overhead, that actual overhead, he puts a third layer of speakers on the ceiling. But
couldn't you do it with just 2 speakers? I mean, after all, you only have 2 ears.
Yes, you do only have 2 ears, and that's a very common argument.
Yeah.
But again, that's an issue of something called imaging. And it's possible for a pair of speakers for the sound to appear to extend beyond the boundaries of where those physical speakers actually are, but you're not going to get any height information out of them. You're just not going to, no 2 speakers are going to be able to convince you that a sound is coming from overhead.
Yeah.
Now, that
makes sense, because the real world sound's coming from all around you.
Exactly.
You're still receiving it through your 2 holes in your head, but
Yes.
you have to figure it out with your
But
brain.
your brain,
So it makes sense
exactly.
the speakers would need to be all over. Hey, let's take a break, but when we come back, I've got a question for you about speakers from Lanella. You want to stick around?
Sure.
Leo
happy to.
Laporte, the tech guy. So, Lanella, you're next.
Oh, thank you.
High Normal. High Normal.
Put the headphones on, and it made it sound
Hey, that's a great word.
High Normal.
Wow. High neural speakers.
Apparently,
like it.
Gary was doing that in the VR in the old days when he was back in VR.
Back in the old days.
clips around your head.
Yeah.
Now, there are ways to, many people have done DSP-based pseudo surround or simulated surround, where you have a sound bar, or essentially two speakers, more or less, in the front, and they sort of simulate surround. Again, that's only in the horizontal plane, and I've never heard it be very effective beyond like the sides where your ears are. And actually getting something behind you, much less something overhead, is not possible, I don't think. Unless you actually have speakers up there.
Right. So his stuff, though, it's all software, right? I'm looking at this Oro 3D. It's a plugin.
Well, it's a plugin for the content creators. It's a plugin to Pro Tools, say, or the software that's used to actually create soundtracks, mix them and master them and so on.
So that it would then use a 5.1 or, I mean, an 8.1 or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, the interesting thing about Oro, which I think was very interesting, is he takes the mixer is able to take the signal that's intended for the upper layer, that second height layer, mix it into the standard 5.1, and deliver that as a standard 5.1. So you could play it on a standard 5.1 system, and it would sound great. He claims sounds better than regular 5.1. Putting that aside, the most amazing thing is that an Oro decoder, and that requires a hardware decoder, well, basically a DSP chip that's programmed in your AV receiver that can decode it, but it can extract that information, the height channels, out of the regular 5.1 channels with virtually no loss of fidelity. And he does it in a very interesting way. He takes, normally audio is 24-bit in the studio when they're creating it. It's 24-bit resolution. He reduces that to 20 bits and uses those last 4 bits, the 4 least significant bits, to encode some metadata that is able to identify this second signal, this height layer, as it's mixed into the regular layer. Normally, when you mix two audio signals together, once they're mixed, you can't extract them back out. It's like putting cream in coffee, right? You stir it up and it becomes kind of this chocolate brown, and you can't take the cream back out. But with this system, with this Oro system, you can. You can extract that mixed signal out of the basic 5.1 channel bed and recreate it in your height speakers. It's quite remarkable, actually.
Well, everybody should listen, because the chat room saying it was a really interesting interview. So
I know several people have said in the chat room, and I thank them for that and for listening. Yeah, exactly. It's really great. Wilfred is a very enthusiastic guy, and what's most amazing is he had just returned from Asia that day.
Wow.
He was in Belgium, and he came on. It was 11:30 at night his time.
Wow.
And he came on the show, and he was just jamming. It was amazing.
He's clearly excited about this idea.
Yep.
Neato. All right,
he's a little bit. Yep.
Hang on just a second. We'll be back with you immediately, because we're going to take Linella's question.
You bet.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, rocking out with Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guru in the free world, ladies and gentlemen. So I think the thing to do is listen to this last week's Home Theater Geeks to this guy and hear about Oro 3D. And then, can we buy it? It's not like Atmos. It's something else.
It is. It's another immersive audio format. It's sort of a competitor to Atmos.
Oh dear. Are any movie theaters using it?
Yes, there are about. Last I heard, there were about 300 theaters worldwide that have Oro, as opposed to 700 that have Dolby Atmos.
Okay.
So they're lagging a little behind in that regard. And there aren't very many titles that are available on it yet. Well, there aren't very many Atmos titles yet either. Only 3 by the end of this year. But it is another format, and what SMPTE, the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, is trying to do is create an interoperable standard by which they can make movie soundtracks as immersive audio, and then whatever the system you have, Dolby Atmos, Oro, this new DTS one coming up, the Fraunhofer one coming up, it'll play. It'll be fine.
And
you
of
only
course,
have
That's how they do it with surround sound, THX.
Exactly.
Really? Dolby, they all work together, right?
They do, yeah.
Really? They're all interoperable. So you could buy a Blu-ray, DVD, and it would have your choice of encoding. And,
Correct.
And you could have
and
the
your
system
receiver would be able to decode it, whatever you
be nice. That'd be nice. And then you wouldn't have to go buy special speakers for Aura 3D. The positioning might be a little different, though.
Yes, correct. The positioning is a little different, and you have to buy a few more speakers than you would normally have in a 5.1.
I'm just going to put speakers everywhere, and then whatever uses it. Hey, would you like to take a speaker question? Because Linella's on the line.
I'd love to.
She's calling from Los Angeles. Hi, Linella. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson's here too.
Hi, Leo. Hi, Scott. I've been trying to get you a long time regarding this question.
Hey, great.
You bet. Happy to help.
Thank you. I have several pairs of these bookshelf size, even smaller speakers that have a round hole. Some of them have that round hole in the front. Others have them in the back. I would like to know, what is that round hole? I know it has something to do with bass. The ones that have the round hole in the back, because I know sound bounces, how close can I have those speakers to the wall or to my furniture? Can I put those speakers close to each other? Can I put them on top of each other?
That's a great question.
Really great question.
A lot of speakers have what's called a bass port, right? It's not the round hole where the speaker is. It's an empty. It looks like just an empty hole into the speaker.
Hole.
Yeah,
that's right. It's called a port or a vent, and it is intended to change the bass characteristics, make the bass a little smoother. Typically, doesn't allow the speaker to go as low in the bass, but it does make a smoother kind of response.
But it makes sense if you think about a guitar, for instance, where the hole is and how the hole works is important to the sound overall of the guitar.
Correct. And the same thing here. Now, if the hole or the port is in the front, then you can put it right up against the wall. Speakers right up against the wall generally don't sound as good as when they're out in the room a little bit in any event.
Okay.
But if you have a speaker in the a port in the front, it's easier to get away with that than if it's in the back. If it's in the back, you really don't want it right up against the wall.
But how far off should it be?
Well, it depends on the size of the speaker.
But it doesn't have to be feet away.
These are bookshelf size speakers.
Yeah, 6 inches would be enough, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it would. It would. However, putting a bookshelf speaker, I think the term bookshelf speaker is a little problematic, because if you put any speaker in a bookshelf, in a shelf with a thing above it and things around it, it's going to sound different. The acoustics of it being in another cabinet, essentially, are going to make it sound different.
You may not dislike it. Sometimes it enhances the bass, and if you like a lot of bass, you might you can put speakers in a corner where it might not be more accurate, but it sure sounds boom, boom, boom.
Boomier.
Right? Yeah.
Now, yes, it does increase the bass, but if the bass is muddy and kind of boomy, as you just alluded to, you might not like it, or you might. It's kind of a personal preference.
You know what the real answer? The real answer is, Linella, play with it. Move it around till it sounds like how you want it to sound.
It sounds better when they're off the floor. For some reason, when they hit the sound hits the floor. But still, can I put those speakers, because they're so small, can I stack them on top of each other? Will the sound bounce off and destroy the other speaker?
No.
Why do you have two on top of each other? You have two different...
Because they're so small, and I go in the kitchen to dance. It's a hard floor, so I can move them around. That's why.
All right. Well, I want to
take them in the kitchen.
Dancing
you should dance in the kitchen whenever possible.
Absolutely.
I dance everywhere.
And these tiny little speakers, putting them on top of each other is not a problem. If you're moving them around, if you're using them like a portable kind of a sound system, then it really doesn't matter. Just put them wherever they fit, and it'll be fine.
Oh, good.
I was thinking more in terms of permanent installation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a second question, please. This is old school about records.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who can hear the sound on records that is not on CD. I can actually hear it. I want to break down and give my record collection to my little cousin who's in college, who's a young up-and-coming artist. He wants the records, but I don't want to give them away for that reason, but I'm going to. Could you please tell me what type of equipment? I do have the original record player and stereo and those big giant box speakers that came with it when I bought my records. What kind of equipment shall I record those records on before I give them away because I don't want to be sorry that I gave them away.
So now remember, though, that one of the things you hear is the fact that that is an analog record. That's probably the reason. That's probably what you like about it.
They sound better than CD.
Yeah, but you're going to, in effect, make a CD out of it. So understand.
Anytime you record it,
you're giving up. You're going to give up some of that quality.
Oh,
that's right.
There's no way. Not even the reel-to-reel tape.
Well, reel-to-reel would
reel-to-reel
do
tape
it. Yeah, you got to
do it because that's also analog. You're going to lose a generation, though, right?
But that's not so bad. Not so bad.
Okay, all right.
Do you have a reel-to-reel recorder?
Well, I was going to buy one for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, audiophiles for years used high-quality tape at a high speed, by the way. The higher the speed, the less you'll degrade it. So 15 feet per second if you can.
Inches.
Okay.
15 inches per second.
Not feet. You're going to be taken off.
Would be really good.
I really wanted to bless him because I said this could, you know how the young people use the records?
They love them. They scratch with them, and they they love them.
Yeah, but they're going to destroy them.
But they will. But you will not get them back in the same condition. You know.
No,
that.
I'm going to give them to him as a gift.
Aren't you sweet?
But I want to have the gift of the original sound of the music.
Reel to reel.
I really can't hear the difference.
Reel to reel. At least that's still analog. You won't be sampling it. And then the problem is, of course, those won't last more than 10, 15 years. But
that's right. And it's going to be expensive. I mean, a good reel-to-reel tape deck is not cheap.
What do they still make them?
They do.
I still love that music. Really, I really hear the difference.
Tell me what the records are, Lynella.
Oh, they're all the records from the 60s and the 70s before they came out with CDs.
Good stuff.
I still have all of my records.
What's your favorite one to dance to in the kitchen?
Oh, that's anybody. I love any kind of music, all kinds of music.
I mean, are you talking Sly and the Family Stone here?
Those guys. I love rock. I love blues. I love jazz. I love classical. I love country, rhythm and blues. Everything that was out on records. I have a huge record collection that I never got rid of.
Don't give them all to your nephew. Keep a few, will you?
Okay. I do have some 78s also.
Oh, wow. Lynella, what are you cooking when you're dancing in the kitchen?
Oh, well, because of health reasons, I'm using the microwave. So.
Oh, well, that's good. It gives you less time to dance, but at least you eat sooner. I imagine you with a giant pot and a big wooden spoon dancing around for some reason. I don't know why.
I used to do that before I have health.
All
right.
Eat nice, healthy food, but keep dancing because that's good for you, too.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you guys.
Love you, Lynella. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, isn't she great? I tell you.
Really great. You know, I had another thought, which was if she sampled not at CD level but higher, like 2496, she may retain more of the analog feel, but it still wouldn't be the same. She sounds like she's very sensitive in her hearing to the what is the analog sound. And one question that I continue to think about, and I'm not sure I really know the answer, is can you sample at a high enough resolution to make digital indistinguishable from analog? You know, the more you sample, the higher you sample, the more accurate the representation. I don't think it's possible. I think that there's something about analog that our brain responds to that no amount of digitization, no matter how high the resolution, will actually be able to capture entirely. So I think you're right. The only solution for her probably is reel-to-reel tape, but wow. Sorry, Leo. I didn't hear the music.
It's okay. He was late on it, but I don't know why you're not hearing that.
I don't either until
I turn it up real loud.
So, yeah. Hey, everybody. Davey Mitch 75 has good memories of Christmas records during the holidays. iTunes is nice, but not the same experience. See? Very, very much so. Yeah, how many reel-to-reel tape decks are still being made? I know TIAC still makes them. I'm pretty sure Revox still does. Somebody here in the chat room was talking about a Kai. Lawn Dog has a Kenwood KX1030. Oh, here it is. Mick says the Akai X355 has an internal amp and monitor speakers. It was the Cadillac in its day. You know, cassettes would possibly be another choice, although they wouldn't be as good quality. but they're sure a lot easier to deal with. Reel-to-reel tape, man, oh man. That is seriously, that's a lot of stuff to go through. But, you know, so are records for that matter. You got to clean them and protect them from heat and all that kind of stuff. So Leaf M37 says 50 to 60 kilohertz sounds warm. Well, yeah. I think there is something based on the high-res audio experiment that I did on AVS some months ago. You know, there is something that we pick up in the ultrasonics. We as humans pick up in the ultrasonics, but it's not direct hearing. It's something else. I suspect it's the interaction of those ultrasonic harmonics, overtones, frequencies, that interaction creates something down in the audible range. Bill in Michigan, wasn't there a reel-to-reel DAT? I suppose there might have been in the very early days, but I think the earliest DATs were essentially video cassettes, basically. And that evolved into that little cassette of a DAT, but that's still going to be digital. So it's not going to get her that analog sound. Interesting question, though. Let's see. Rusty Bones. If I keep making the confusing understandable, I may someday be able to understand all things home theater geeky. Well, I hope so. That's my goal. And Lord knows I'm not perfect at it, but I try very hard. That is my stated goal, is to make the confusing and the complicated understandable. So thank you for understanding my goal there, Rusty Bones. Percolate asks if I've ever tried the Biodynamic T51 headphones. I have not. But Biodynamic's a great company, and they make great products. I would certainly go to innerfidelity.com or head-fi.org for all your headphone-related needs. They cover headphones like nobody's business. W. Scott is one says, how do you know where to put speakers in your house, and what's the best way without putting holes in the wall? Don't mind if it doesn't look clean. Well, there are plenty of on-wall speakers that you can get that you don't have to punch holes in the wall, but they mount on the wall. As for where to put them in your house, that's a big question. There's where to put them in your home theater. There's where to put them in other parts of your house where, say, you might want a party soundtrack. In which case, you know, you sort of put them on the ceiling. I don't know that there are any clear-cut guidelines as to where to put them on the ceiling, because it's not a critical listening environment, and it probably doesn't really matter. In a home theater, of course, it matters a lot. And so that's a whole another kettle of fish there. Which I've talked about a lot, and hopefully, you know, you can go to AVS Forum and learn quite a bit about it. Let's see. Lawn Dog asks another good question about tubes versus solid state. I think I've posted a poll on this on AVS. You know, just what do you prefer? But there's another issue of, well, it's not analog versus digital exactly. It's in a sort of a similar vein, perhaps you could say. But yeah, tubes definitely sound different than solid state. And the question is, which do you prefer? That's another kind of a, which do you prefer? There's something about it and the smoothness it creates in the audio signal where digital tends to be very crisp and sharp, Lawn Dog continues to say. And I agree. Digital is much crisper, sharper, cleaner. Analog has a mellowness to it, which a lot of people really like. Bill in Michigan, I don't know if Tandberg is still around. That's a good question. Speaking of analog versus digital, this Tuesday I have a ticket to go see Interstellar in IMAX 70 millimeter film. Down at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, there's an IMAX theater, and it's digital, but they installed a film projector for this movie because Christopher Nolan insisted upon it. And I know the projectionist there, he's been a guest on my show, actually, and he said that Chris Nolan has been in the theater during the playing of this movie now for the last 5 days, multiple times, sitting in different seats, making sure that everything's going as he intends. And apparently 70 millimeter film on IMAX is the only way to see it exactly as he intended it, because it changes aspect ratios. It goes from, I don't know exactly, but 2 or 3 different aspect ratios. So I'm going to bite the bullet. I typically much prefer digital presentations over film, but IMAX 70 millimeter, 15 perforations, I believe per frame. I'm not 100% sure about that. It might be per inch. Is what's being shown in that, and that's the way Christopher Nolan wants you to see it. So that's the way I'm going to go see it, and I'm looking forward to it tremendously. I've heard the visuals are stunning, but that the movie itself, there might be something to be desired there. I don't know yet. I haven't seen it, but that's what I've heard. It's also almost 3 hours long, so be sure to go to the bathroom before you sit down. Now, R. Chandra is saying, I think what you're thinking of is quantization error. And you're right. When you digitize an analog signal, it is what's called quantized. And there is something called quantization error, which can sound pretty nasty if you don't take care of it. Theoretically, a CD digital signal should be able to be reconstructed back into its analog waveform perfectly. This is according to the Nyquist theorem. But things are rarely perfect, aren't they? I mean, in real-world implementations, filters aren't perfect. Other circuits aren't perfect. In the early days, they really weren't perfect, and it sounded really bad.
All right, Scott, got to run. Thank you.
Go.
Take care.
Thank you.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, smartphones, home theater, digital photography, that kind of stuff. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. Website is techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. Continuing to take the calls. Rob is next in Huntington Beach, California. Hey, Rob, Leo Laporte here. Hello, Rob.
Sir,
hey, I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, just ducky, I guess. Okay.
Why do I not believe that? Is there something going on?
Well, I'm a bilateral amputee disabled vet, so.
Okay.
But I found it's easier to just lie to people.
No, tell me the truth. That's good.
Okay. Well, the truth is I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate touch screens and smartphones.
Okay. Well, I don't blame you if you don't have any arms.
No, it's legs.
Legs. Okay. But you do have fingers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. But you just don't like the technology.
Exactly.
Got it. All right.
Now I'm using an old NV3, and all I do on a phone is talk and text.
Okay.
I'm looking for something else that has a keyboard on it nowadays.
You mean like a typewriter?
It's not just a good analog phone.
Like a typewriter keyboard.
Yes, sir.
But not a smartphone. You want a traditional. Well, first of all, nobody's analog anymore. All of the carriers have gone digital. So there is no analog cell phones anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I guess I need a dumb phone then.
Dumb phone, yeah. They call it a feature phone because they don't want to imply it's dumb in any way.
Well, you go to the store and all they've got is smartphones.
Right. There's two reasons for that. Partly because the market, has been asking that, although there are plenty of people like you who don't want them. The other reason is they make a lot more money selling you a $650 smartphone than they do selling you a $5 feature phone.
Right.
So somewhere in the back, who's your carrier?
Well, at the moment it's Verizon, but I qualify for it, and I'm thinking of trying one of those government phones.
All right. And who's the carrier on those?
I believe it's Virgin Mobile.
All right. That's Sprint.
Okay.
It's the Sprint network. I mean, it's not, well, it's partly Sprint. It's the Sprint network is the point. And so you'd have to make sure that the Sprint network worked okay where you are.
I'm in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, you can't trust the carrier maps, by the way. They all will say, "Oh yeah, works great."
I discovered that when I was driving big trucks cross country.
Yeah. Well, there you know better than most. So, I mean, Verizon and certainly these government plans, they still sell, standard feature phones. I don't know of any feature phones that have a full QWERTY keyboard, however. I agree with you.
That's what I was afraid of.
For text messaging, that sure would be great. But unfortunately, that would be the only purpose for it. And I think, does anybody in the chat room know of a non-smartphone, a feature phone that has a regular keyboard?
Yeah, I used to use the two-way pagers when I was driving.
Right.
As a backup to the computer in the truck, but that got more expensive than a phone.
Yeah. The BlackBerry, people are saying the BlackBerry Passport, that's the new BlackBerry. It is a smartphone, but it's got a great looking keyboard. It's kind of a strange square form factor. It'd be very good, I think, for text messaging. And you could just ignore the other features.
Yeah, not turn on the, or not get the...
Not do the data.
Package.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be one to look at. And I'm sure they're giving those away. Nobody wants them. That's the nice thing. The phones you're looking for, the phone you want is going to be the least expensive phone out there. The BlackBerry, somebody in the chat room said, is only really half smart, so that's okay.
Well, that's like my envy. When I got it, they were calling it a smartphone, back when the dinosaurs were still rolling.
Oh, yeah. Phones have gotten smarter, so the name smart means more than it used to. I'm not sure what...
I tried one, and every time I touched that screen, I went somewhere I didn't want to go.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right. And I've said this before, that people often overbuy complexity. When you have, the smarter you get, the more complexity there is. And if you're not going to use it and you don't need it, you definitely don't want to buy it. As you say, there are buttons that do things you don't want to do. But I'm afraid I'm not really up to date. This is kind of the opposite of what I normally do, which is make people more geeky, not less. I'll keep my eye out in the chat room, and they're making some recommendations. Here's a GSM feature phone. Oh, this is interesting. The Pantech is fairly cheap. It does have a full keyboard, Pantech. I'm seeing it on Amazon for $35. But this will not work with either Verizon or Virgin Mobile. But they may have their version of it. It's a Pantech. This is the P7040. And interestingly enough, it's basically a feature phone. Has a few things, smarter than feature. For instance, they have a navigator on it, turn-by-turn directions. But it's got a BlackBerry-style keyboard. There must be some other things. I would guess there's some other things like this. So I'll keep listening, Rob. If we find something, we'll let you know. And the chat room might have some good suggestions too. We'll put it in the show notes, techguylabs.com. Neil, Phoenix, Arizona. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Neil.
Good morning, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for calling.
Great. Listen, I need some help here to spend some money.
All right.
Well, I'm trying to decide. We talked before. I was going to use my iPad, but I realized I really need a file system on a computer. I'm kind of really tired of Windows 8.1. So I was thinking of a MacBook Air or Mac Pro, and I'm thinking probably the Mac Air is probably adequate. I to surf the web and you surf the web, check emails. I do some photo editing. I have my iPad 6 Plus. I want to edit some photos with that, with iPhoto and so forth, and maybe do some documents because I do have Office at the moment. So, but I guess I don't think I have heavy use for the computer, so to speak. But I'd like to have a computer. I do taxes and things like this.
Yeah.
But I'm also concerned about. I know when you go to Apple, the only ones they have, and like say in store, are 4 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigabytes of RAM and so forth. I'm just concerned. What is adequate? What's necessary?
4 is absolutely adequate. In fact, I would recommend that you get the base model MacBook Air. You may not want to get the 11-inch screen. Get the base model 13-inch screen. It's more than adequate for everything you just described. Modern processors are pretty darn fast. You'd be hard-pressed to find something that even the kind of lower end processor, and it's not that low end in the MacBook Air, couldn't do. And it's very light, excellent battery life on the 13-inch MacBook Air, 13 hours.
Really?
And the base model, so as a lot of people, Apple, like every company, gives you the least expensive base model and then expects you to buy up because nobody wants the base model, except that the MacBook Air base model is just fine. It's exactly what you want. The 13-inch is $999. The only limitation is because it's an SSD drive, it's a smaller SSD drive. It's 128 gigs. But if you're just doing what you just described, I don't think that's an issue. Photos might fill it up.
Right. Well, that's the other question, because how hard would it be to move everything off of the Windows machine, the data, into the other drive?
Easy peasy. In fact, this is probably what you'd want to do anyway, which is get an external drive, either a thumb drive or because they get up pretty big now, 128 gigs, or a USB spinning drive. Back everything from the Windows machine up to that, then put it back on the MacBook. Now you got a copy of all your data, a backup, plus you've got it on the MacBook. It's easy. That's simple. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'll continue on. I'm sorry that we had to, sometimes the network out is hard, so I have to go when I have to go. But this is a i5, 1.4 gigahertz dual core, plenty. Graphics, on the lower end of all of these is, Intel motherboard, what we used to call motherboard graphics, integral graphics. But not necessary to have anything more than that, unless you're a high-end gamer. And 4 gigs of RAM, which is plenty. Now, you can upgrade it, but I think for what you just described, Neil, I think 4 gigs of RAM is more than adequate. And $999 is a very nice price for that. And I love they say 12 hours of battery life, but I'll vouch for that. So the only thing would be the size of the drive.
Exactly. I might want probably the bigger drive so I can have more space to move the data over. But aside from that,
look at your Windows machine, see how big your data is. I think
30 gigabytes of it,
yeah. So that's 128 is plenty. See, I think what happens when you have this. People were so used to having kind of a terabyte hard drives and more that we don't prune the data. For instance, with a terabyte drive, I'd probably keep all the pictures I've ever taken on that drive, but you don't really need to do that. You could only do this year's pictures, for instance. And so I think with 128 gigs, you just kind of get used to the idea that, you can't ignore how much storage you're using. And use an external drive, which you're going to get anyway because you need it to back up.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Leo. I appreciate your information.
You're very welcome. I think the 13-inch, $999, that's a nice system.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thanks, Neil.
Take care.
Yep. Our podcast today brought to you by our friends at Citrix. We love Citrix. They do so many great products for people who are in business. If your business is IT or support, I don't have to tell you about Citrix Go to Assist. It is the global, worldwide market leader in remote support. Used by more people, more companies than any other. It is a secure, cloud-based solution that lets you handle urgent tech support requests. And in this business, faster is better, right? You could do it quickly. You can make sure your network security is not compromised. It's very secure. It lets you log in and assign a ticket, even remotely access the machine from a mobile device. That's so awesome. Look at that. That's amazing. Unattended support, so you don't have to wait till the people come in to fix their systems. Very easy to use. You could create a branded self-service portal. Customers can search your knowledge base, get the answers they need. It is a really great tool, and I believe in it. We use it. I use it in my personal life. I have to support people, too, at home. They expect it. Go to Assist is awesome. Try it for 30 days, free, whether you're supporting one coworker, 10 employees, 1,000. Visit gotoassist.com. Click that 30-day free trial button right now. It is an amazing tool that you ought to have. There's a reason why it's the #1 global leader in remote support. Easy to use, fast. It's going to get the problem solved and make you look like a support hero. Visit the website. You can see all the features. Go to assist.com and then click that button for a 30-day free trial. Try it free. Look at all the stuff you can do. Session recording, session transfer. You can log in as administrator. They've got remote diagnostics. Two-way screen sharing is nice. You can talk to your client and say, well, show me what's going on. There's a service desk module that's really great. Go to assist.com, click the try it free button. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We did find a feature phone with it. Well, yeah, see, it's still a smartphone. It has a browser. I think having a web browser kind of puts it in the smart-ish phone. But we did find a feature phone with a slide-out full keyboard on Virgin Mobile, the Kia Sera. So I'll put a link in there for our previous caller. That would work. That would work. It's a dumbish smartphone. Mike in Chicago, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Cold. We're cold out here.
Has winter come to Chicago?
Yeah, unfortunately it has.
Yeah.
But my question today is I went ahead and pulled the trigger and got a Droid Turbo, upgraded my Note 3, and I've run into an issue where I can make calls but cannot be on the internet at the same time.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the problems with the Droid Turbo. You can't. So in order to do that, by the way, you may be able to in a couple of months. Droid Turbo is the latest Motorola Droid phone from Verizon Wireless. I also bought one because I was intrigued by the idea of the giant battery. It's probably the biggest battery on the market today. But there are a few things in the fine print, one of which is it's like those older Verizon phones that don't support voice and data at the same time, one or the other. And that's because it only has one antenna in it. It can't do both at the same time. However, Verizon is moving, and I'm sure in Chicago they're already there, to this voice over LTE technology, Volte or Volt. And this phone apparently can be upgraded to support Volt. And when it does, then suddenly you'll get that capability. And the rumors are it'll be the next couple of months. So there's two things. One, you have to get the upgrade to the phone. And two, voice over LTE has to be supported in your market. And I would guess Chicago would be one of those markets. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Unfortunately, the Note 4 does do that.
Okay.
Has two antennas. It's in the fine print at the bottom. I wish they would be more clear about that. But
definitely, that would be great.
But Verizon's not going to tell you any negatives. They might not buy it, even though it doesn't suit. It would be not. I think companies should kind of come around to a new way of thinking, especially in the internet era. Just tell the truth, so that you have happy customers, and tell them what it does and doesn't do. And this has always been a selling point for AT&T and T-Mobile over Verizon, is that you could do data and voice at the same time. So Verizon didn't want to talk about that. And they are moving quickly in the direction of supporting both, but that's a big technology upgrade, and it's not rolling out instantly. And I don't know how well it works because I haven't tried it. But the iPhone does both voice and data at the same time on Verizon. I'm pretty sure the Note 4 does. Why did you go from a Note 4 to a Droid?
Wanted something a little bit smaller. It was too wide.
It is big, and the new one is even bigger. Yeah.
And I was thinking about the Nexus 6, but I hear that's just as wide and even bigger.
Yeah, that's a 6-inch screen. That's ginormous. I buy them all, because it's my job. So I have a Note 4, and you've heard me say many times I don't like Samsung because of the stuff they do on top of the phone. I have owned every Note because I like a big screen, and the Note 4 is easily the best Galaxy Note ever produced by Samsung. It's great, and they have reduced the Samsung cruft to a minimum, so it doesn't really get in the way. And frankly, using this Droid Turbo, which is much more of a pure Android experience, I kind of miss the Note 4, and I certainly miss the battery life. I'm a little disappointed this Droid Turbo. What are you getting on battery life?
I'm getting about a day, maybe day and a half of pushing.
Good. Yeah, that's what they say. Maybe I just use my phone more than some. I don't know. I really push it, so I'm getting about 12, 13 hours on it. That's just,
yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, it's less than I'd like.
In the week that I've had it.
Yeah. Well, I've only had it since Friday, so it's a nice phone. The story, Verizon's not saying, but the story is that it is software upgradable to Volte, and it will be in the next couple of months. So if you can wait to the end of the year, or maybe a little longer, you will get voice and data simultaneous on this phone.
With Verizon not having a great track record of doing updates, I have 7 days left.
Well, now you have to decide.
Yeah.
You have to decide. So you want a phone that will do voice over LTE. And, of course, again, you should probably check to make sure that your region that's available, because it isn't available everywhere.
Okay.
But if VoLTE is available, then an iPhone would be a good choice. And, you can get the big iPhone if you wish, but they also have a 4.7-inch. The iPhone 6 will do it. I'm pretty sure the Note 4 will do it. And there are maybe other choices as well. And then just, if I would search around before you got a few more days before you give up. The one article I've read about this said that they expected, Motorola and Verizon expected to upgrade this phone in 2 months. Remember, though, this phone might be an orphan. Because, remember, Motorola was sold earlier this year from Google sold it to Lenovo, and that transition happened last week. So this is now a Lenovo phone, and so whereas Motorola has a pretty good track record of upgrading fast, we don't know what Lenovo is going to do. We don't know. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Tiffany is on the line from Reading, Pennsylvania. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Leo. I'm just thankful that you and Heather, that I have Leo, the tech guy, and Heather there to help me.
Isn't Heather great?
Out of luck.
We love Heather. The Phone Ranger.
These cell phones, they're not user-friendly. I have one of the free 250-minute Kyocera with the government income.
Okay, good. That's the one we were just talking about, yeah.
And I can't do anything but make a call and answer it. All the stuff I use on it, it doesn't work. And I'm wondering if it's the carrier.
Yeah, it's the carrier.
The young lady or the phone.
It's the carrier.
That's what I thought. And boy, what a game. What a racket. And I had the same problem with my AT&T camera phone. It was a nice tablet phone. I don't use it no more because it's very unnerving for me. So I'm about ready to use a payphone, and to be honest with you, when I walk up to the payphone, it's just a flat stainless steel plate there. There's no phone.
They took the phone away. There's still. I actually talked to the payphone king of the United States. So payphones used to be run by AT&T and whoever your local carrier was, and AT&T got out of this business some years ago. They said it's not a big enough business. Of course it's not. Everybody's got smartphones, cell phones. Nobody needs a payphone anymore. Well, there still are lots of them, tens of thousands of them. And this guy bought the business from AT&T. He said, it's not a big enough business for AT&T, but it's a plenty big business for me. But you know what? Most payphones, so there's payphones outside of Walmart. There's payphones in urban areas. Most of them now, cell phones. Cell phones. They don't connect to the landline network. They're cell phones. Tiffany, yeah, it's the carrier. You have to pay for those features. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's why they're hotspots, too, in many cases. Normally, we talk to Johnny Jet at this time. Well, we're going to. He's our travel guru at johnnyjet.com. But I got to tell you, he's on a boat. And the quality of the call ain't great. Hey, Johnny, where are you?
I'm off the Bahamas right now, and I'm on the Regal Princess, which is a new Love Boat with the whole cast of the Love Boat.
I saw pictures on Instagram of you with Captain Steubing and Julie and everybody.
Gopher.
I am so jealous.
Yeah, Ed Fox Henderson was on it before. I had a picture with Mrs. Brady and Mrs. Cunningham.
Wow.
Insane.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
this must be a brand new boat?
It's brand new. They christened it. So the cast of the Love Boat was christening it. So they had this big party. They brought in 25 of the former guests, everyone from Florence Henderson to Dick Van Patten. And it's been an amazing experience. We end tomorrow in Fort Lauderdale.
Has it been a great cruise? You look very nice in your suit, by the way.
Thank you. And I got my dad in my cabin, which you probably can't see. I dragged him down here.
Oh, I'm so glad he got to go. That's awesome. Here, if you go look at Johnny's Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, next year, in a month or two, the cruises are going to have a much better internet connection. So they're going to use a hybrid. Land satellites.
I can't believe how good this sounds, because you're in the middle of the ocean. By the way, it's costing $5 a minute, so we're gonna let you go. There's a picture of you with Florence Henderson and Mrs. Cunningham. And Florence seemed to really like you, Johnny. I think. All right, thank you, John. We'll let you go because it's so expensive and the quality's not great, but I'm sure you're having a blast on the new Love Boat. Take care, Johnny. The Regal Princess. And what fun, huh? What a good job he has. So we'll get him next week. He usually joins us with an app and a website. I'm sure he has it all prepared, but unfortunately the quality wasn't great. So rather than burden your ears, just go to johnnyjet.com. And do go to his Instagram because it's so funny to see him. It's here's a giant picture of Marion Cunningham on the screen on the Love Boat, the Regal Princess. Wow. Matt, Savannah, Georgia, you're next. Hi, Matt. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing okay if I could get this buzzing noise out of the speakers.
Which speakers?
I use what I have. So I've got a 60-inch TV, and it's plugged into some Mackie SRM 450.
All right.
Powered loudspeakers or whatever, and I get a buzzing noise whenever the TV turns on. It starts buzzing. If I unplug the, it goes out the TV into the speakers. If I unplug it from the TV, no buzzing sound.
Aha. So generally that means what we call a ground loop, and it's probably, since it's coming from the TV, it could be a couple of things, but we'll start with that. Make sure the TV, is it plugged directly into the wall?
It's plugged into a power supply. I did get a ground loop isolator going from the TV. It goes into RCAs, into the isolator, and then into the speakers. Still have the buzzing sound.
All right. Well, that's good. Go ahead. Well, you eliminated the ground loop, so that's good. So it could just be a loose wire or a short in the TV, which is worse. One thing, it could be a lot of things, but is there a different way of connecting it to the speakers? Is it just a cable? Is that the only way to do it?
That's the only way that the Mackies do it, and the TV's got a digital out, which I don't know how to use, or an optical.
Well, you'd need to have optical would probably solve it, but you'd need to have an optical receiver with the speakers.
So I was thinking that maybe it had to do with the power line. It started when Dish Network came and installed the Dish Network. They hooked up the
that's interesting.
And then it got louder, and what they said that they did is they disconnected the ground from my house panel going into ground, and it made it a lot less. So I don't know if it has to do with the power. I do have a Furman rack rider in my garage. I don't know if that helps with any power conditioning issues or not. I just can't figure out where it's coming from. And
boy, I can't. It sounds like you're on the right track. It sounds like a ground loop. It's weird that they disconnected the ground. That's not a good idea. You need to get a qualified electrician out there for sure, because you want a ground. You really want a ground, and that's not a safe thing to disconnect that. And I would say there are a lot of possibilities here, something I can't diagnose over the phone, but I definitely would get an electrician out there, at least to reconnect your ground. That's a very poor choice they made. That sounds like trouble. And it does, if it got worse when they put the satellite in, that sounds like that could be related. Chris in Miami, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Chris.
Hey!
Hey! Whoa! Hey. Whoa! Hey, how you doing, doing, Chris? Oh, you just woke everybody up. I had everybody nice and fast asleep, and now you woke them all up.
Oh, well, I could call back in and be quiet.
Nap time is over. Yeah, no, Chris is here. Chris is here.
Well, everybody should be. You know what? Sometimes I listen to some of the callers that call in, and it's like you're so jovial. You're so happy. You know, it's a privilege to call your show, and it's like, you know, and then you call. It's like, "Hi, John. How are you from Arizona?" It's like,
I'm sad.
yeah.
Well, because of a lot of our callers call because they're in deep technological pain.
I know.
I'm kind of, you know, the Fraser Crane of technology. I talk them through it. I talk them through.
You do, and you do a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what can I do for you, Chris? Because you're obviously crazy right now.
I am crazy, but I'm always crazy when I call you. But I love Heather Harmon. She's terrific. She should have a picture on the wall.
She should.
Really?
Well, I show her. You know, if you watch the video of the podcast, we do a video version of this, and I show her whenever possible, so that people get a sense of who Heather is.
She's terrific. She's an amazing lady.
I stole her from Dr. Dean Edel.
You did?
I did. She worked for him for 11 years. Fortunately, Dean retired, and now I'm going to retire too, and Heather and I are going to run off to the Bahamas with Johnny Jet. No, I'm just kidding. Hang on. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He loves Heather. He loves the Heather. I couldn't stop it, so let it be. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Chris is still on the line from Miami, Florida. Welcome back, Chris. Sorry I had to put you on hold there. What can I do for you?
Well, that's okay, Leo. I'll wait for you. It's not a problem. I remember. Okay, in iTunes now, where my problem is remember in iTunes 11 where the devices would be in that sidebar, and now what they did is in 12 they moved everybody to a bar at the top.
I want to like just take them and shake them.
Yes.
I want to shake them. In fact, I even talked to the folks at Apple because I was a beta tester on 12, and I said, "Where's the sidebar? It comes and goes." And they said, "Well, you better get used to it. I think it's gone."
It's gone.
I like the sidebar. You know what? They got to start over. Can I just Apple just start over?
Basically,
it's an old program. You keep messing with it, and at this point, it's time to write it from scratch.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they might be because remember they bought Beats Music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the streaming music system. And one of the things that's happened with Apple and iTunes in the last year, digital sales have dropped dramatically, 13%. On iTunes. This year alone, in the first half of 2014. That means people are not buying music. What are they doing? They're listening to Spotify, RDO. They're listening to streaming solutions, Pandora. And so that's clearly why Apple, in a panic, spent, I think, kind of a little bit too much money, but they've got it, so what the heck, to buy Beats. And it wasn't the headphone business, it was the streaming music business. So the rumors are that they're working on, and I know they are because you hear little things, a new kind of streaming music solution. Trent Reznor, who is the former lead man for Nine Inch Nails and is currently the chief creative officer at Beats, is apparently, he said in an interview with Billboard, he said, yeah, Apple and I are working together on a new streaming solution that will be good for everybody. And you know that Taylor Swift recently pulled her new album, 1989, from Spotify, saying, I don't want to give my music away. She said the Spotify, these streaming solutions, in effect, are free. Artists get so little money. She doesn't want to. She says, look, I put my heart and soul, 2 years of my life into this record. I don't want anybody to get the impression it's free. So, by the way, she didn't pull it from any other streaming thing. So it's more of a like a flag in the ground than an actual stand against streaming music. But I do think we need to reinvent it. Anyway, that gets back to your question. I think Apple. I think 12, I pray that I'm not wrong on this, that this may be the end of iTunes.
Okay.
That they will now do, because if they're doing Beats, they're going to make it part of iTunes Radio. This is a great opportunity to rethink iTunes. Music sales plummeting. Let's rethink iTunes. They've been slowly getting bits of it out of iTunes, especially on the on the mobile platform. You know, they took out the podcasting, iTunes U. They're kind of taking bits and pieces out. I don't know. I don't have, you know, anybody inside who will talk to me. But I think that you're right. iTunes is ghastly.
Well, the other part of this is that the devices icon was there when I installed iTunes 12, and it's only back again because I reinstalled iTunes, and then when it disappears, which it does every about 6 to 8 days, I have to reboot the Mac, and boom, it shows up again.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's another problem that's going on, is that how, like I said to Heather today, you know, when it's there, I back up my iPhone to the cloud as well as to the computer, because I don't know if it's going to always be there.
Will it ever come back? Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah,
well, let me ask you, you know, when you plug in your iPhone or iPad, doesn't the icon pop up?
It should recognize it, because for me, I do Wi-Fi and I do when I plug it in.
Well, that's the problem, right? Nowadays, most people don't plug it in.
Yeah, I do both.
Yeah, so, but like my iPad is plugged in right now, and of course they've replaced, you know, the sidebar, so instead you have to look at the top, and there's a little icon for devices, and there it is. You're saying
yes,
that it comes and goes even when it's plugged in?
Yes. Well, exactly. Now, a week and a half ago, I have had no trouble with iTunes 12. A week and a half ago, I sat down at my Mac and I said, let me back everybody up. It was missing. So I went on a hunt.
Well, I noticed, by the way, when I unplug it, it goes away.
Well, it goes away, but when you're on Wi-Fi, it should still populate, and that's Apple agreed with me on this. It should still be showing up. And when I plugged it in, it still didn't show up. So it was gone.
So
and
broken.
I called them. And then you wait online for Apple for like 45 minutes just to get a call screener, and then if you're lucky, if you get someone that actually shows up at the other end, and then you wait another 30 minutes. We reinstalled iTunes, and then 3 days later, the whole thing disappeared. And then I shut the computer down, turned it on, and everybody's been there for the past couple of days. I'm lost.
I'm thinking, have you tried a different cable? I mean, it could just be the cable's a little flaky.
All the cables are brand new, and the computer's working fine. It's a late 09 iMac, and all the USBs are working perfectly.
All right. Well, I don't, I'll agree with you that iTunes is wonky. The thing has been bad for, and you and I are not alone. I think the world generally agrees that iTunes has been broken for some generations.
Yeah.
I don't, unfortunately, before iTunes came out, there were several other programs that did the same thing on the Mac. But once a company like Apple, or Microsoft does this in Windows, once the company starts putting out the program and shipping it with all the Macs, everybody in that business says, well, that's that, and goes away.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's a lot. I don't know what else you would use. There are a couple of music players you can use on the Mac, but none of them have the organizational capabilities of iTunes.
No, they don't. That's why I stay with Apple, because it's like everybody's all organized in the cloud and everything. If you go somewhere, I thought about that already. I said, let me go back, let me check with Sony. But no matter what you do, it's not synced. Apple's got it where it's all rigged, where everybody is synced together.
Yeah. Well, you're part of the Apple ecosystem, and so you need to kind of use the Apple stuff. I really like and use Google Music. They have a streaming solution, but they also will back up 20,000 songs to the cloud, like iTunes Match will. And I also use Amazon Music. Both of them have web-based solutions for the Mac. I guess you could use VLC. Somebody in the chat room suggesting that, but boy, that's kind of clunky, Video LAN client. It does have playlist capabilities and so forth. I use Vox, V-O-X. That's available in the Mac App Store for playing back high-res music, because iTunes won't. And it does some playlist stuff. It's a kind of a nice little player. But nothing does everything iTunes does, particularly that syncing with your Apple device. I would guess most people now have just started syncing with iCloud, and that's that. They don't connect to the computer anymore. They don't even do Wi-Fi syncing. They just use iCloud. I would try Amazon Music or Google Music and see if you can live with that. They have clients for the iPad and the iPhone. They don't exactly sync. I think we're in this weird stage where people have stopped buying music. They've even stopped, in many cases, putting it on their device. They stream it. I look at my kids. They want to stream it. They don't want to buy it. But then I worry about people, artists like Taylor Swift, who says, well, I don't want to give my album away. Can we figure out a solution that gets me fairly paid for my content? Then I'm sympathetic. Don't know what the answer is, Chris. Stan in Colton, California. You're next, Leo Laporte. the tech guy. Hi, Stan.
Hey, good afternoon, Leo.
How good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Listen, I have a problem with my Asus computer. I have a Q550L Asus.
Okay.
And my problem is, now this wasn't happening when I was running 8.0. When I log into my computer with 8.1, it'll log in, I put in my password, the desktop will come up, but after like 5 seconds, I get this green screen.
All right, hold on a sec. We got to take a break. We'll talk about it when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We talk tech each week at this time. We were talking to Stan in Colton, California about his Asus laptop. You're saying, Stan, it happened when you put Windows 8.1 on it. It started booting into a green screen, huh?
Yes. It says, please wait, and it has a little cancel sign at the bottom, and I can't get rid of it. I took it to Geek Squad 3 times, and they tell me that the sign-in screen is locking up.
Yeah? That's it? They said, here's your computer back. It's locking up?
Yeah.
They didn't offer to fix it? They just said, oh, yeah, here it is. Have it back. It's locking up.
Yeah. But I told him, I said, if you look at the bottom of the green screen, you can see about 1/8 of an inch of the desktop on there. So this green screen is coming up over the desktop.
Did they ask you, would you like us to fix this, sir?
Yeah, they took it in once, and this was about 3 months ago, and they said they had to wipe it and reinstall.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest doing.
They did that, but when I got it back...
It did it again?
But when they put 8.0 on it, I didn't have any problem with it.
Interesting. Maybe it's possible that that particular Asus is not somehow compatible. I think it's with 8.1, or more likely, my guess would be that there's something incompatible in the drivers for the video card that you're getting. How did you get Windows 8.1 on there?
I took the free download from the store.
All right, you did it the normal way. You didn't do the beta version or anything like that.
No.
Yeah. I would go to the Asus site, look at your model, make sure you have the right... it sounds like a video issue. Video drivers for your particular model. That would be my guess. You say you can... So it's green, but then you can kind of see a desktop at the bottom?
Right, about 1/8 of an inch of the screen at the bottom. You can see the icons of the desktop at the bottom of the screen.
And there's no, close this window. Is there any text on the screen?
Yes, it says, please wait.
Please wait.
And it has a little cancel button.
But the cancel button doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do anything.
Can you boot up in safe mode? Have you tried that?
No, I haven't tried that.
Okay, safe mode, you tap F8 while you're booting, or hold down the shift key while you're booting, and it will go into a text menu, and you can go into safe mode with network. I'm pretty sure 8 still does this. I should try it with the Windows 8. They changed everything in Windows 8. But I'm pretty sure that it still does this. You boot into safe mode, and what that is a very simple video driver, not the fancy one. Let me look. I haven't used I have all my machines are Windows 8 now, but okay. So to get into Windows startup setting, oh my goodness, to get in the safe mode, it's much more complicated than it used to be. Well, Windows startup settings, which used to be called advanced boot options, you can start Windows to get. So apparently you can do it in the. Oh man, thank you, Microsoft. We spent years figuring out how to use Windows, and then they changed everything. So you swipe in from the right edge of the screen. That's going to give you the charms. Problem is, it's too late for you, right? You're not in Windows. You can't do that. If you can't start your PC, if you don't have installation media, use the power button to restart your computer 3 times. No. Is this a joke? Why, it's at Microsoft.com. So restart your computer 3 times to get into the Windows recovery environment. There is no more safe mode. In the Windows recovery, so literally, use the power button to restart your computer 3 times. Once you're in the Windows recovery environment, click the Choose an Option screen or tap Troubleshoot. I'm going to presume you can get eventually to this same thing, which is, I'm going to have to try this with my Windows 8 machine. This is crazy. Crazy talk. Apparently Microsoft figured nobody will ever need to use safe mode ever again. So you can't mash the F8 key anymore. But, oh, wait a minute. You can do it by mashing the Shift F8 key. Why would they change that? So, according to the How To Geek, booting into safe mode in Windows 8. The trick is, I'm reading this, the trick is to hold the Shift button and mash the F8 key. This will sometimes boot you into the new advanced recovery mode. Sometimes. Is it too late to get a Mac? So here's what I want to do, and you're going to have to figure out how to do this, Stan. I want to boot into what they call safe mode, which is a minimum driver mode, including a minimum video driver. It's a very ugly, 16 color or 256 color VGA mode. It's very low res and everything. That's going to look horrible. But if everything works and you don't see the green screen and everything, well, now we know it is an incompatible driver, and you'd need to go to the ASUS site and get compatible Windows 8.1 drivers. I will put I hope you have another computer. I will put a link on the show notes to this How To Geek article, which is inadvertently hysterical. Now choose Windows startup settings. By the looks of things, they write, we were never meant to find safe mode. Finally, hit the restart button. Like magic, when your PC reboots, sometimes you will be able to boot into safe mode from the familiar-looking advanced boot options screen. So there is that screen still there. It's just... So, yeah, but see, he can't boot into Windows. I understand we could do it in the Charms menu, but he can't boot into Windows. So he's got to press Shift and F8 and hope that it does it, or follow Microsoft's instructions to reboot the machine 3 magical times. They don't mention a chicken or anything about circling, but I would go through the full system. So if you're in Windows 8, it's easy, or easier, but it's ridiculous and of course he can't get into Windows 8. Or somebody could be punking you. This is good. The chat room came up with an interesting one here, Stan. Maybe you've got a wily teenager in your midst who has changed your wallpaper to a green screen that says wait. Could it be that? Oh. Shift F8 and reboot. See if that works. If it doesn't, reboot 3 times. See if that works. And then once you can, somehow you're going to get into the Windows startup settings. You want to go into advanced options and troubleshooting, Windows startup settings, and then restart. And then you get to the familiar black screen. You want safe mode with networking. Again, if that works, then we know it's a bad driver, and now you got to figure out. Now you know why the Geek Squad said, yeah, it doesn't boot here. So, take it. I don't want it. James in Roner Park. You all have my deepest sympathy. The The technology industry's let us down. I have to say that. James, you're going to be next in just a second. I have to let you down, put you on hold for a little bit longer while we take a break. I want to talk about this new Amazon Echo thing, too. We'll get to that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
So I've never heard of shift in F8, but if you just tap F8 a bunch of times while it's booting up, that should catch that menu.
It says it doesn't. That you have to, Microsoft's own documentation.
Like you have to be pressing F8 when it transitions from the BIOS to Windows booting. So if you get,
I understand. Timing is critical on the F8.
So if you just keep tapping.
But they say, no, I know. Tap, 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 tap. That's what we all used to do. Have you tried that with Windows 8? Still works? Because this is what Microsoft says. With Windows startup settings, which used to be called advanced boot options, you can start Windows in different blah, blah, blah. Now, they show the charms method, but we don't want to do that because we can't get the thing started. If you can't start, boot your PC, this is their instructions.
Now, it might be different for like an all-in-one or something that's got UEFI maybe or something.
Oh, you don't have... Well, no, you have a Surface. That's UEFI.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it on the Surface.
Try it on the Surface. Yeah, I'm sure it's different on a BIOS computer. It would be different, but it's a UEFI thing, I'm sure. So if you have installation media, then you can run that and repair your computer. If you don't have installation media, use the power button to restart your computer 3 times. I don't even know what that means. This will start the Windows recovery environment. They don't even mention the Shift F8. That comes from this article on How to Geek. And this is how to boot into safe mode on Windows 8 the easy way. You know, it's funny. I haven't had to do safe mode, so I just assumed that Shift F or F8, 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 F8 would work. But they say you still can have safe mode, but it's buried deep into the recovery options of Windows 8. While just mashing the F8 key, as we all know, will boot you into automatic recovery mode, you can still manually access recovery options. So mashing F8 will boot you into automatic recovery mode. Why is somebody calling me on Skype? I didn't even know you could do that. Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah, I hate to bring these things up on Windows Weekly because I feel like such a noob. But I really feel like Microsoft is just messing with us now. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. James is on the line from just up the road a piece, Rohnert Park. Hi, James.
Hey, how are you, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. My question I have for you is I just bought a new computer.
Yes.
And my old computer hard drive died, but I had an issue on my last computer that I don't want to occur on my new computer. I bought an old, my last computer was a Dell, and it came with like a 3-year subscription of McAfee.
Ooh.
And everything was running well.
Ew.
And once the
Did it have Windows? Did it have Windows 8 on it?
No. The
Windows,
new one does.
Yeah.
And with the old one, I got, when McAfee ran out, I went over to Microsoft Essentials as a security.
Yeah. It's free. Why not? Microsoft makes it. It's got to be good.
Yeah, and I've heard it's fairly good.
It's okay. They bought an antivirus company called Giant, and they updated it, and it's all you need. In fact, it's in Windows 8 now. That's why I asked. You don't need an antivirus with Windows 8. They have Defender built in.
Okay, so what had happened was after I installed the Essentials, I could never update Windows after that. Huh. And I went through the whole rigmarole. I'm fairly competent, with computers. I did everything from the fixes for Microsoft website down to factory reinstall, and I could never update the Windows ever again. And I went for a couple of years with that.
That's bad. Yeah, that's not. That's the opposite of security.
I know, but I had my Microsoft Essentials, so I thought, that might...
I'm not sure I would blame Microsoft Essentials. By the way, that is not a replacement for patching your system, but we'll get to that in a second. I would blame McAfee. McAfee, I bet you anything. So most antiviruses, you can't just uninstall them. They make that hard to do because they don't want the bad guys to do that programmatically, right? So McAfee even offers on their website, and I would get this, they have a McAfee removal tool that goes over and above the uninstall command. And it's very possible that there was enough McAfee left to block updates. Very possible.
Oh, okay. So if I do go with the essentials on my new computer,
it will not block updates, I promise you.
Okay.
Your new computer has Windows 8 on it, though, right?
Yeah.
You already have essentials in effect. You have, they call it Defender. It is the same thing.
And that's reliable?
Well, so here's the deal. Let me explain a little bit about security, because there's really no easy answer to that. Most security experts I know do not run a standalone antivirus. Because it's so much, there are so many more important things than the antivirus. For instance, you mentioned that, well, I don't have to worry about updates for 3 years because I've got Microsoft. Oh, no, Security Essentials. Oh, no, that's not true. The updates are patchings, exploits that allow a bad guy to bypass everything and just do what he wants, including Security Essentials, including everything else. So you need to make, those patches are vital. Every month on the second Tuesday when Microsoft puts out critical security patches, they are required. For a couple of reasons. One is because those are holes that could be used by a bad guy without any intervention on your part to put stuff on your computer. But the other thing is, by patching it, Microsoft is announcing the existence of this hole, and immediately, as soon as Patch Tuesday happens, the bad guys download the patches, reverse engineer them, and figure out where the holes are. You go, I got a hole here. So if you're not patching it, it means you are more vulnerable than before. Now, so number one is Windows Update. Got to run it. In fact, not just Windows Update, but any software that goes on the net or is used when you're on the net must be kept up to date. That includes, of course, your browsers, but also the plugins those browsers use, like Flash, Adobe Reader, whatever PDF reader you use. Those have to be kept up to date. Very, 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 very important, because that's how bad guys get in your system. The other way they get in your system is you let them in. That is, you get an email from your old college buddy who says, I got great video of you from last night. And you go, what? And you open it and it says, oh, it looks like YouTube. And you says, oh, well, your Flash is out of date. And you go, oh, yeah, that happens all the time. So let me just update Flash. I'll click on that link. It goes to a site that looks like it's downloading and installing Flash. But guess what? It's not, because it really wasn't from your college buddy. It wasn't a video of what you did last night. It was all a ploy to get you to install software in your system. And you know, no antivirus can prevent you from doing that. Only you can prevent you from doing that. So the antivirus is only useful at the very end of that whole long process where you didn't patch or you accidentally clicked a link and then something got installed on your computer. If you're lucky, the antivirus will see it and let you know. But no antivirus is perfect, so it may not. So I think the antivirus is the least important of all of that. It's really good that Microsoft builds in an antivirus into Windows 8. And whether it's a great antivirus or not is not that important. It's something. What's really important is what you do online, that you keep your system up to date. Anything that goes online, you keep up to date. So on the new computer, you don't need another antivirus. It's got Defender. Yeah, admittedly, there are better choices. Defender is kind of a baseline. But I really, first of all, it's not going to block you from Windows Update. In fact, no antivirus should. But security software, because it's kind of supposed to keep you from doing dumb stuff, might, especially if you took, it's like when you uninstalled McAfee, you took out the frontal lobe, but the cerebral cortex was left behind. And it doesn't, it's dumb. And so it just, no, don't install that. No. Security, it's a shame that one has to learn about security to use Windows these days. It's my opinion that for that reason, unless you have to use Windows, you shouldn't. There are many reasons you might want to if you're a gamer, if business requires it. But absent any of those reasons, if you just want to surf the net and get email, you probably don't even need a full computer. You probably need a tablet or a Chromebook, something simple and much, much more secure. Security is something you'll never stop learning. And I don't think most people want to spend that kind of energy. So, James, don't do anything on your new computer. Your old computer, I think it's probably I would start by going to the McAfee, Google McAfee removal tool. Intel owns McAfee now, so might not even say McAfee. It might say Intel Security, something like that. Run that tool. Get rid of all the bits of McAfee first. Once you do that, if you have downloaded Security Essentials, you'll have to enable them. Make sure you enable them in the Security Center. And then really pay more attention, in my opinion, pay lots more attention to safe computing behaviors, to protecting yourself online. I think that knowing kind of having an understanding of how the bad guys get in is really valuable. And by the way, they also get in with social engineering, calling you, asking you for a password. There's all sorts of ways they can get in. And I hate it that we have to be this careful, but we do. We really do. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm a lumbersexual. The rise of the lumbersexual. Flannel boots, jeans, all the mark of New York hipsters, yes. They all look like lumberjacks.
But they don't behave like them. I have a problem with that.
And if you're really dedicated, you'll go out there and you'll lift so that you have lumberjack-like biceps.
Oh, that'd be a nice touch. I mean, I dated a construction worker.
Well, that's real. Somebody should be wearing,
Exactly.
work boots and all of that.
And he was truly rugged, not,
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Truly rugged. That's David Beckham. Oh, this is it. He's bar hopping, but he looks like he could fell a Norway pine.
That's awesome.
Isn't this funny?
This is what you see when you drive down Valencia Street.
Absolutely. The lumbersexual. Then there's an actual lumberjack.
The bespectacled, plaid-wearing.
He's the lumbersexual role model, according to this
man who is drinking a juniper sprig out of a...
Wait a minute. Isn't that Ryan Gosling?
Stop. I have to adjust my glasses.
Hey, girl. I may look like a lumberjack.
I love those boots. Those are so expensive now.
Really? The Red Wing boots?
Yeah. Look them up. I think they're like $150, $200.
Wow. But you
Maybe
get free
that's not
laces.
that much.
No, that's...
They throw in the laces?
Free laces
nice.
forever, for life.
Oh, really?
Oh, you didn't know about that?
I did not. So you just go in the store and go, look, my lace broke.
Yeah.
And they're like, here you go.
Yeah, Red Wing shoes.
Awesome.
You had never had work shoes, probably. What is that? Retro mountaineering glasses.
Oh, stop. What website are you looking at?
I don't like these guys. It's called GearJunkie.com. This is Paris, the runways of Paris.
I love it, too. You'll see that here in NorCal, where it'll get down to a nippy 48 degrees this winter. I need a fur-lined collar.
This is a good one. I love the caption on this article. This man embraces the look with unkempt beard, nothing tight, plaid, maybe even plaid on plaid, and an appropriate level of disaffectation. Wow. He looks like a hardened outdoorsman, but his flannel feels so soft to the touch. He'll open your beer with an omnipresent buck knife. He's a master of the retro Instagram filter. His flannel is coated with a waterproof DWR coating, and his laid-back style has been honed with more effort than he would like you to know. Yes, he's a lumbersexual. Wow. He looks good. He's all around you. In fact, if you're reading this far, he just might be you.
Oh, hilarious. All right, well, you nailed that audition.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. We've got Nan on the line. She's next from Los Angeles. Hi, Nan.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am fantastic, thank you. I have a Droid Incredible right now, and it's having some troubles, and I've looked at the Windows Icon phone. And
You're a Verizon customer.
I'm a Verizon customer, and I really like the phone, and I like how it interfaces with me.
It's
but
great,
I'm worried,
great phone. Yeah.
I'm worried about the apps that won't be available and how the Windows Phone isn't that out there in the market. and I'm wondering
Yeah.
if I'm going to have issues.
I'll tell you, I think Microsoft did actually, after saying such bad things about Windows a few minutes ago, they did a great job with Windows Phone. In fact, I think they recognize the future lies a little bit more with Windows Phone than it did with the old school Windows. And so it's a great operating system, but you nailed it. The hardware is good. The icon is nice. It's a Lumia. Great camera. It's a little clunky, a little square, but boy, is it a nice phone. The issue totally is that Microsoft was late to the game, and so developers didn't flock to Windows Phone, so there are some missing apps. At this point, really in my opinion, the only major missing piece is Google itself. So if you use Google services, you might feel, and it's the main reason I don't use Windows Phone is because I like Google Plus, I like Google Voice, Google Contacts, Google Calendar, all of that stuff. And it's mostly Google's fault. It's not Microsoft's fault, but Google just really never made those apps available on Windows.
So what do you think of the Moto X?
I use a Moto X as well. Now, you're on Verizon, so I would look at the Droid Turbo, which is a bigger battery version of the Moto X.
I did look at that. It was really big, and it was slippery to hold.
Too big for you, and you don't like the slippery.
Yes.
Well, the icon is bigger than the Moto X. I think the Moto X is good. I have a Moto X. I like it. The negative, as far as I'm concerned, is battery life. It's maybe 12, 13 hours of heavy use a day, which means I may be unusual in this. First of all, I probably use these phones more than most. I'm always on it. Mm-hmm. So my battery life's probably going to be worse than yours. But I also want to get up in the morning. I want to get up at 7 a.m., and I don't want to put the phone on a charger till 11 that night. I really want it to go, in other words, 16 hours without a charge.
Is there another Android version that you would recommend that's not as big as the Turbo?
No, actually, I love the Moto X. I wouldn't recommend against the Moto X as long as you understand that, it's going to have more like 13 hours instead of 16 hours.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm at the office a lot.
Yeah, so you plug it in when you get to work, and that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I think the Moto X is actually a fabulous phone.
Okay.
Are you a football fan?
Totally, and baseball.
Okay, so wait, because there's going to be an NFL version with a pigskin back of the Moto X.
Oh, really?
So it'll be like a little football. I think it comes out this week.
Okay, great. 'Cause I'm looking like in the next 2 weeks to
Yeah, the Moto X is great because it has this Moto Maker feature. You can go to motomaker.com and you can choose leather or wood backs as well as plastic backs. I think they're gorgeous phones. And I really like the version of Android. I mean, since you've used Android, you're comfortable with it. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
This is a pure, clean version of Android. The Moto X will get the next version of Android as soon as anything.
Yeah.
That's good. I think the Moto X is a great choice.
How's the camera on it?
It's decent, 13 megapixels.
Okay.
Motorola traditionally has not had the best cameras. It's better than your Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you'll like it. I get some great pictures with it. If you look on my Google Plus page, I've been posting comparison pictures from a variety of Android phones. There's a number of Moto X pictures there. Okay. I think the Moto X pictures are pretty good.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad to give you the advice. I don't like to recommend against Windows Phone. I like Windows Phone, but you nailed it with that issue of the apps available for it. Sometimes people say, "Oh, well, the best is iPhone," and it certainly is. It started earlier than Android. It has a 2-year jump on Android, but I think the Android store has, for the most part, caught up. There are camera apps, there are little utilities that come out on the iPhone that don't end up coming out on Android. But that's becoming less and less common. The pigskin Moto X is a Verizon exclusive. So when you go to the Verizon store, ask them, hey, I'm a football fan. They should have a stitched baseball back too, shouldn't they? But I don't think they do. I love these real leather backs. I got a leatherback Moto X, and sorry, every time I say Moto X, it wakes up. I'm sorry. Shh. Thank you. I'm not talking to you. This has become a major issue on the radio show and the podcasts I do. I'm starting to get hate mail from people who say, you keep waking up my phone. I don't know what to say about that. I'm not trying to wake up your phone. But I have to talk. I can't this is the new swear word. Pretty soon, the FCC is going to say, say all the bad words you want, but you better not say, okay, Google, or hey, Siri. See, I just woke up half the phones in there. iPhone does it if you're plugged in. iPhone doesn't let you change the nomenclature. If it's always hey, Siri. And by the way, my iPhone wakes up several times a day because I keep it plugged in. And whether I'm watching TV or I'm just talking, for some reason, it thinks I'm talking to it, and it'll say, yes, what? It doesn't. In fact, maybe it's my imagination. I think Siri's getting a little snippy with me. I think she's kind of angry. And then, but okay, Google. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But that's on some devices you can't change that. Like the watches, you can't change that in some phones. But at least on the Moto X, you can make it something besides okay, Moto X. For instance, on my Droid Turbo, I have help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's how it wakes up. And for the most part, unless I'm watching Star Wars, you don't hear that in everyday conversation. I feel bad. I don't want to wake up your phone, but I have to be able to talk about this stuff. Now, if I were to do something like, okay, Google, send my wife a text, I love you, darling, and your phone actually were to do that, that would be bad. Unless, well. 8888 Ask Leo. It's going to get worse now because Amazon has this new thing called the Echo. Have you seen this? So it's a tube, a black tube. It's actually it's a speaker that you plug in. It's not wireless. And it's called the Amazon Echo. Right now you have to sign up to get it, but eventually they'll offer it for $199, $100 for Prime members. Again with the Prime. So you could talk to it just like your phone. Will it rain tomorrow? Set an alarm. Play music by Bruno Mars. Make a hotel reservation. And it just like your. Now I'm not sure why you would need this. Well, it is a speaker, so you could say play music. It's only one. It's not stereo. I can't imagine. I don't know. Maybe it's got good speaker on it. So a couple of things come to mind. First of all, aren't people a little paranoid as it is about always listening to devices? This thing, I mean, this feels so Orwellian to put this black tube in my room that listens all the time. Really? Is that something people want? I don't know. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our show today brought to you by, what I need to do is hire a personal chef. You know where I would go to do that? Yeah. ZipRecruiter. Actually, in all seriousness, if you're an employer and you need to find the right candidates, you probably already use a job board or two, but which is the right job board? Wouldn't it be great if you could post once and go to 50-plus job boards with a single click, and Twitter and Craigslist and LinkedIn and all the other places? Wouldn't that be nice? You can do it. ZipRecruiter.com. Post to 50-plus job boards with a single click of the mouse. If you want to find the perfect hire, you've got to post everywhere. With ZipRecruiter, you post your job to 50-plus job sites and all those social sites, and with a single click, and boom, boom goes the dynamite. Candidates will roll in from every city, any industry, nationwide. And, of course, with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface, that's good. Because you're not getting the phone calls, you're not getting the emails. It's going to ZipRecruiter. You can quickly go through the candidates, screen them, rate them, and hire the right person fast. They'll even help you make a company careers page, a jobs page. It looks just like your website. It goes right on your website. No wonder ZipRecruiter's been used by over 250,000 businesses, including ours. Right now, you could try ZipRecruiter free for 4 days. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/techguy and use it. ZipRecruiter.com/techguy. Try it free. You'll love it. We did. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Ricardo.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
I'm great. How's everything in Disneyland?
Everything is good here. Thank you.
Dick
I
is
have a
mad. I'm going to give you the plug. Hold on.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can close your mouth. Dick is. When I said hold on, he froze.
Yeah, I thought it was. I froze.
He froze.
I froze.
Dick is Mad Magazine's maddest writer. He has been for a long time, and I grew up reading him. Of course, you weren't much older than me, but you started writing when you were a teenager.
Yeah, I did.
And
I haven't stopped yet.
He's still doing it. You should follow him on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle?
The GizWiz.
The GizWiz.
/ The GizWiz.
You can also follow him on Facebook and everywhere else, but he also has a website, gizwiz.biz. And what he does when he's not writing humor is he does gadgets. He talks about gadgets on ABC's World News Now. He does it on our show. He does a podcast called The GizWiz. What do you got for us this week? See,
I have a couple of new gadgets from Joby. Now, you and I know Joby for years. Their very first gadget was the tripod that the Gorilla tripod. You could use it as a regular little tripod.
I love them.
Bendable. You could bend it around a tree branch or a park bench or a railing.
Love that.
So, and they've been adding to it every year. And at the Javits Center, the PDN Photo Plus show, they were showing their new Action Series, which is a suction cup mount for the action cameras, like the GoPro and the Contour and the Sony. And they're pretty neat. You put it on a surface. It should be a clean, non-porous surface. And then you turn it half a turn, and you'll hear a click, and then it is on there. And on their website, they have videos of them on the front of boats, on motorcycles. And the motorcycle, they ran 3 runs at 157 miles an hour without removing it between runs. And Leo, it was very funny. I was talking to people from Joby who turned out to be in Petaluma.
What?
Yes. And
what?
I said, you know, that video of the motorcycles holding the action cam on was amazing. And the guy said, I'll tell you something funny. On the way back from the video shoot, we drove by Twit, and Leo was walking out the door with his dog, and we were on motorcycles, and we honked and waved.
I saw them. I just thought it was a couple of guys on motorcycles honking and waving.
Funny? They're fans. Zach at Joby.
I had no idea. We're in Petaluma too, which is, by the way, in the middle of nowhere. That's like saying you're in a Nebraska cornfield. You know, it's funny because they dropped off a couple of Jobies.
Yes, exactly.
And I appreciate it, but they also dropped off, and I bet you're going to talk about this. That little thing. Is that
the little suction cup guy? Well, it's 2 things. One is the suction cup guy has an arm. They make 2 different models. One is suction cup it to the surface.
Yeah.
And then there's an arm that it has 2 different turns where you can position the camera where you want it, like on your motorbike or your boat, whatever you're going to race along. They also make a version that uses the original GorillaPod.
Yeah.
So you can suction cup mount it and then put your camera on it and
would
bend
be
it
useful.
to
But
way.
actually, I was thinking about the Grip Tight, which you could put in your pocket.
Yes.
It's great.
The Grip Tight is very tiny, and they now make a new larger model because it's to hold your smartphone on a tripod. But now with all the bigger phones, they now make 2 different versions of the Grip Tight, so that if you have like the new iPhone 6 Plus, or I think it goes up to holding the Note.
It's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
I use that all the time because it could actually fit in your pocket, or, I mean, it's tiny and it gives you a little tripod for your phone. I love that.
Yeah, no, the new ones are list price is $39.95, and they're not yet on Amazon, but I'm sure they will be soon. But they're at the Joby website.
I love this idea of a suction cup because there's a lot of times you want to put it on a surface. You don't want a tripod. You want to kind of hang it somewhere or put it on a surface. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, it's very hard to put a tripod on the side of a motorcycle. You need some pretty good Scotch tape for that.
They also have magnetic feet, so you could put it on a, But I don't. Have you noticed this? They don't make refrigerators magnetic anymore. Have you noticed that? What? I don't understand.
No, I didn't.
Maybe
are they fiberglass now? Or
I think
what?
they're stainless or something because I used to put all the kids' artwork up there, magnet, the poetry, this stuff. I get little like the baseball calendar. I'd get on a magnet. I put them there. They fall on the floor. So you don't put the Joby GorillaPod magnetic feet version
on your refrigerator.
Bad idea.
But very few people are going to do action shots using their refrigerator down a hill.
Yeah.
Call me crazy,
but
I
it
don't
would be
think
great if they did.
It would be good.
Yeah, a lot of people use these for their GoPros. It's a great way to mount a GoPro. There's all sorts of things to do with this, but I love these guys. I had no idea they were local.
Yeah, they are.
So are you using, what do you use your GorillaPod for?
Well, you know what? I'm going to use it on my boat so I can do some action shots running down the Hudson River with the waves splashing and
we all have
everybody hanging on tight.
All of us who've purchased smartphones have pretty sophisticated cameras and video cameras now. If you have an iPhone, the hyperlapse is awesome. Have you used that yet?
No, I don't have an iPhone. I just have the Touch as my only iOS product.
There's an example of an app not yet out on Android that I love. What it does is it will stabilize it will do a time lapse, but it'll stabilize it. So it's a smooth time lapse. It'd be great for your boat.
Wow.
You should buy an iPhone just for that.
Oh, okay, I will. Yeah.
Gizwiz.biz, that's where you'll find Dickie D. That's his website. Information about all of the products he mentions, not only on this show, but all the other appearances he makes are at the website, gizwiz.biz. And there's the suction cup. Oh, it's not one of them little, it's a industrial strength. It's kind of suction cup, they use a Mission Impossible to remove plates of glass.
Well, I mean, these guys were running at 150 miles an hour with it on the side of the motorcycle, so you want it to be secure.
I was wondering what that was when they were waving at me. Play the What the Heck Is It game, a chance to win big, well, not bucks, big magazines, autographed copy of Mad Magazine. The winners for October are out, and now we're playing for November, December through the end of the year. The question is, what is this close-up picture of a gadget? What is that gadget? If you can name it, you're in the running for 12 autographed copies of Mad Magazine. If you have no idea, but you come up with a clever guess, there's 24 issues for that. Gizwiz.biz. Thank you, Dickie. Will you stick around for the Giz Fizz?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I surprise you?
I'm staying.
Okay, don't go. Walter, Huntington Beach, California. You're next. Hi, Walter. Leo Laporte. Walter. Yes. Walter, hang on. We're going to get your number because I'm going to call you tomorrow because we just ran out of time. We'll get to you tomorrow. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.